Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I am going to be talking about The Guest. All right, so it is a horror movie from the year 2014, and there are spoilers all over this, but I'm also going to give one more warning. This is a negative review, so I don't do negative reviews that often, and the reason why is generally if I don't like something, I don't review it, right? But there's some really special circumstances around this film, but this is a negative review. And the reason why I'm calling that out as well is someone worked, a lot of people worked hard on this film. And I don't like to say negative things about other people's art, generally. There's better uses of my time. I like to point people toward things that I like. But hopefully by the time I'm done with this review, it will be clear why I chose to do it. But, if negative reviews aren't your thing, it might be a good jump-off point. Just saying. All right, The Guest, 2014 horror movie. It's a thriller horror film, an American thriller horror film. And, one of the reasons why I even watched it, I'm not a huge horror fan, but I have been watching more and more horror recently. And this year there were two really good horror films that just kind of got me in the mood. We're coming up on Halloween, I guess all those things combined, I'm just watching more horror. So the two really good horror films I saw this year were Blair Witch and also Don't Breathe. Really great horror films. Really liked them a lot. And so I've been listening to some commentary on the internet about horror films, and more than one reviewer said, The Guest, The Guest, The Guest. A lot of people talked about The Guest. So, and they said, don't look anything up, just go watch this movie, right? So I am saying don't do that. And the reason why is, so The Guest is a very interesting film. It is extremely well made. It has a low budget, right? Not a crazy low budget, but it's not a big budget film. Not many horror movies are big budget films, but it has a low budget, but it's extremely well made from the following aspects. It's very well cast. The people who are in it are exceptional, and I expect to see the majority of them in very big films in the future. If not, their careers have already taken off. In fact, one of the girl who plays so I'll give you the story and then I'll start to attach the characters. So the story. Okay, I don't want to bury the lead here. This was a great horror film with a terrible, terrible ending. And it was also, and I read the Wikipedia page, and it made it very clear, this movie was ruined by screen testing, right? So so essentially the directors made this film, wrote the film, took it in front of some screen audiences. Screen audience goes, I don't like this, this, and this. And specifically, the thing that the screen audience has said was, it's too on the nose. You tell us exactly what the monster is, and you tell us too much of what's going on. So they went to the editing floor, and they cut it all out, right? And by the time the movie is done, you're following this extremely well-written story, right? And all the characters are people you care about, right? But then when you get to the ending, they've taken out the reasons to explain who and what the monster is. And so when you reach the end, you're confused. There's just, so the killer is killing all these people, which that's a thing in horror movies. I get that, right? But there's no solid, there's some killings. These all make sense. And then there's a whole bunch of killing at the end that make no sense. 0 sense, right? And so, this movie was well written, well crafted, and edited to the point of nonsense. It has a nonsense ending. It makes no sense, right? And so it's like, watching someone, bake a cake and, and use gravy as like the frosting. It's just off, right? And it has a very, very bad ending. And that is painful because they do such a good job of making you care about the characters, making you want to know what's happening, and this is all the ingredients here are fantastic. Great story, terrible ending. All right, sorry to keep saying, but that is the problem here, right? Great story, great actors, extremely well done. Lighting, like every single element of this film is dead on, right? It's just extremely well done, except it was ruined in the editing room. Just ruined, right? And so, and the reason why I feel very strongly about this, and the reason why I took the time to do this is a classic Hollywood problem where they feel that every single aspect matters except the writing, right? And, you know, like, basically, you know, here's a good example, right? The writing is critical, right? So Hollywood, you know, they care about virtually every aspect of the film, right? But there are certain things they wouldn't mess with, right? So lighting is a good example. Not writing, lighting, like shades and colors and light, right? So basically, you know, the lighting, the guys who light the set, they set up lights all over the set, right? No one would come in and say, you know what, I'm going to cut these two wires out between, you know, I want to walk across this area. So I'm just going to cut these 10 wires and take all the lights out of half the film, right? You know what I mean? That's my issue is, right? Hollywood, you know, just, it seems like they're so willing to mess with the writing and have so little respect for the writing aspect of the film that it is just a constant problem, right? And from everything I've heard, many writers, I know there are some writers that make a lot, but many writers don't make a lot. And there's a lot of films where, you know, very typical, you will have 6 to 12 to even 18 writers on a movie. You know, that's crazy. You know, that's just crazy. And it's just sad that this happened. So the story of The Guest was this family, American Midwest family, their son goes off to war in Iraq, right? No, I'm sorry. I think it's Afghanistan. It's current modern day 2016, or this is in 2014, right? So there's a mother and a father. They're about 45, 50 years old, maybe even a little older than that. They have 3 kids. One is essentially 20 years old, and he's off to war. Another is a 17-year-old daughter, and another is a 15-year-old son, right? So you have the young son, the young surviving son, the young surviving daughter. You have the mother and the father, and the guest is a friend of their dead, deceased soldier son who died in Afghanistan, right? So he comes back and he's like, hey, I just wanted to tell you that your son said he loved you. He wanted you to know that he really cared about you guys, and he thinks you did a great job raising him, right? And the mother is the first one to meet this guy, and she says, hey, where are you going next? And he's like, well, I'm just going to get a bus ticket and go down to Florida. Maybe I can find some work. And she's like, well, you know, stay around here. Get yourself on your feet. You know, we'll put you up for a while, right? The father comes home. He doesn't like this idea. He's like, hey, some of these guys have PTSD. But then the mother insists that he stay. And then the father then, you know, just has a beer with him, and he grows to like him as well, right? And then the daughter and the son, they grow to like him being there, and he specifically gets involved in both of their lives. He goes to a party with the daughter, and he picks up the younger son from school and sees that he's being bullied, right? Well, the movie just kicks off from there, from the horror aspect. Essentially, this guest, right, what he does is he takes every affront that has ever been done to this family, every problem they have, and he solves it with murder, right? So he murders the father's boss so that he becomes the new manager. He murders the girlfriend, the young girl, the daughter's boyfriend because he's a drug dealer. He murders he beats the living crap out of the bullies who gave problems to the young son. He doesn't do anything for the mother, but she didn't really have any problems in the film. So, which she was definitely a character that could have been a little bit more well sketched. But I will say right now, this movie has no problems except the ending, and that is, and it was so. So one of the things is, as this is mounting up, right? You're like, who is this guy? Is he really who he says he is? Did he actually know the son, right? So maybe he's just a drifter and he's lying, right? But then it comes out that he was part of an experimental, a military experimental group, right? And you're like, what? You know, it comes out of left field, and still you're on board. You're like, well, does that mean he's like some kind of like, you know, Captain America type? You know, was he that much? You know, did he have super serum? You know, so you're wondering, right? And then the government sends some agents to kill him, and you know, and the story's moving along. And I thought that, and there's also, he's talking about, hey, I need a new face, right? So it becomes apparent that in this, that actually in the film, in, you know, part of the program he's in, they actually do plastic surgery on him and change the way they look. As soon as they said that, I'm like, oh my goodness, I think he's the son. He's still alive. He came back, and, you know, he's just like, you know, and so all through the movie, you're wondering, who is this guy? What is he? You know, and it's just, you know, like, and so every step of the way, the movie's like an hour 40 minutes, right? Hour and 30 minutes, you're completely, you know, on board, and you want to know what this guy is. Well, you know, like I said, spoiler warning, right? In the end, he kills the mother and the father, and that's where the movie just goes off the rails, right? Because there's no real reason, there's zero reason why he would kill the mother and the father. In fact, he spent the beginning of the movie murdering everyone to fix all their problems. So it's like watching a guy dig a hole and then put all the dirt back in the hole. You know, so I was really excited about this film because I'd heard all these good things about it, and I understand why they said good things about it. But the thing is, I need a cohesive story. I need to know what happens in a film, right? Or why things are happening the way they are. And one of the reasons why is I'm a writer, right? So I have incredible respect for the written word, right? So, you know, it's just hard watching this movie because you almost feel like, you know, let's use some technology here, right? This is an amazing film. Go back, recut this thing, and make it decent, right? There's like literally 3 minutes of this film that need to be reshot, and this is an A+ horror film. It's one of the best of the, you know, in 2014, I'm sure, right? But it's really bobbled at the end, right? And at the end, at the very, very end, he tries to kill the daughter and the son, and there's no reason why, right? There's no good reason why he would kill any of these people. Like, all through the film, it seems like he cares deeply about them. It is a very strange, weird movie, right? Like, it's just this great film with great actors. And some of these actors, they're not just good actors. They're like, oh my goodness, these guys could be major, you know, movie stars or television stars. I think these guys could do great things. And the girl has been in Independence Day already. So somebody saw the work in this and said, oh, wow, you know, this is a good actress. And the same is with this. There's the same thing with everybody in this film. It's so well acted. And it was even well directed, right? Except for this part where I really believe as a director, you're responsible to give a decent ending, right? So it was just very sad and very disappointing. And I honestly think we should start to use technology for films like this, where it would be very hard to go back and get all those people there. But you could re-edit this movie. You could absolutely re-edit this movie. And what I would do is I would make him the son, you know, the son of those people, and he had went through plastic surgery, and he came back, and he had some PTSD, and then he gets killed when they come and shoot him, and you know, the mother cradles him in her arms and is like, oh, I'm sorry you died. It was nice having you back for 1 minute. And then you have a movie that makes sense, that has some cohesiveness to the story and has some reason why the story exists, right? So it's just really weird, you know, just and disappointing, right? So, so that is my negative review. This movie is awesome with 3 minutes of terrible in it, right? And unfortunately, the 3 minutes of terrible is the ending, right? So that is my review of The Guest. Take care.